Shazam! No, wait, that's the other one. It's been a big week for Marvel news on the big screen and small, starting with Marvel Studios dropping the first trailer for Captain Marvel, taking us back to the 90s to introduce Carol Danvers to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It seems that instead of being an origin story outright, it looks like a good chunk of the movie will center around Danvers trying to uncover her own backstory, presumably after getting mind-wiped by the Kree. Also, Skrulls! That or this little old lady just took Carol's seat on the bus. Over on Netflix, Daredevil Season 3 is coming up quick. Scheduled for October 19th, a short announcement video was released teasing the return of Kingpin and a darker, less friendly Daredevil. Considering Matt Murdock's current status as presumed dead, odds are good that this season will take an inspiration from the similar 90s storyline. Maybe they'll even fit that 90s Riffic armored costume in somewhere. But there's even more Marvel TV news floating around this week. Deadline is reporting that ABC has made a commitment to a new Marvel drama helmed by Wonder Woman screenwriter Alan Heinberg. While maybe best known for Wonder Woman, Heinberg already has a history with Marvel, creating the Young Avengers in 2005, otherwise known as the best and most underutilized set of Marvel characters in the 21st century. Meanwhile, Variety has reported that Disney is looking to draw in subscribers to their upcoming streaming service with a series of limited shows featuring Loki and Scarlet Witch. According to the report, these won't be recasted prequels either, but will feature actors Tom Hiddleston and Elizabeth Olsen reprising their characters for the small screen. If true, that would definitely be a hefty addition for their exclusive content. On the DC side of things, Batman's penis wasn't the most disturbing thing to be shown this week. Principal photography has begun on Joker, which is, in spite of all logic and reason, a movie that is still happening. Director Todd Phillips released a camera test showing off Joaquin Phoenix getting into character, so to speak. It looks like we're going back to face paint this time around with a Joker that seems to be part Cesar Romero, part Pennywise. Over in video games, the Tokyo Game Show brought us a new trailer for the Resident Evil 2 remake, giving us a first look at the game's story. In particular, we got our first official look at the remade Ada Wong, who has traded her red dress in for an inconspicuous sunglasses and trench coat. Super subtle, nobody will suspect her for a spy now. But not all is well in the world of Capcom. Devil May Cry 5 faced minor controversy this week when the new battle theme for Dante, a heavy metal track from Suicide Silence called Subhuman, received less than positive fanfare. Not only because the song was reportedly terrible, but because the vocalist apparently had an inappropriate relationship with one of his 17-year-old fans last year. Fortunately for Capcom, this was all the reason they needed to scrap the song for the promotional period and start looking for an alternative for the game release. Maybe they can pay for new music with the money they'll make from selling power-ups through microtransactions, because that's going to be a thing in Devil May Cry 5. On the other hand, no pun intended, if you get the deluxe version of the game you can give Nero Mega Man's Buster Arm, so that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, Nintendo finally caught up to the gaming industry of 2010 with the launch of Nintendo Switch Online. As of this week, the subscription service will be required to play online multiplayer games. For $20 a year, you'll get online multiplayer and additional features like cloud backup, voice chat via smartphone app, access to special offers, and most notably, the ability to play a library of select NES games. These games are largely direct ports of NES classics, warts and all, but a few modern conveniences have been introduced, such as the ability to make instant save points for those of us that don't have the time to deal with the unforgiving game design of the 8-bit era. Even better though, if you have friends with the same service, you can play 2-player co-op online or just drop in and watch a game session. The program launched with 20 games, but more are scheduled. Nintendo has announced the release of 3 new games a month through the rest of the year, including Metroid in November and Ninja Gaiden in December, and presumably that rate will continue in 2019. And those neat-looking NES controllers, those are apparently the first of the special offers because it seems the only way to buy them is to be a subscriber and order them directly from Nintendo. Not that there's any reason to buy them if you aren't subscribed, but it does seem weird that they aren't offering them in stores. What will be offered in stores, though, is the PlayStation Classic. Sony is jumping on the bandwagon of making tiny HDMI-compatible versions of their old consoles, releasing a miniature PlayStation preloaded with 20 games, including Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, and Wild Arms. Finally, bad news for fans of Telltale Games. This week it was announced that the bulk of Telltale's staff has been laid off and the studio is preparing for closure, which looks like it'll be the only kind of closure in this story. The shutdown will not only put an end to upcoming projects like The Wolf Among Us 2 and Stranger Things, but it also means the abrupt end of The Walking Dead. The studio's flagship series is in the midst of its final season, with its second to 4 episodes releasing this week. Unfortunately, however episode 2 ends, that will possibly be the ultimate conclusion of the series, getting cut short just before the finish line. But while The Walking Dead may not be getting a conclusion, there are other scares on the way. Hitting theaters this week is Hellfest. A group of teens head into a horror-themed amusement park only to inadvertently end up as part of the attractions, which kinda sounds a lot like that Rooster Teeth movie from a couple weeks ago, but hey, nothing wrong with that. Over on television, Avengers Assemble returns for its 5th season on Disney XD. Fresh off the Secret Wars, this season will center around everybody's favorite Wakandan and her brother, the Black Panther. And keeping up with the Marvel TV shows, The Gifted returns to Fox for its 2nd season of not quite being the X-Men. Also on Fox, Lethal Weapon is back this week for its 3rd season, minus one lead actor, but up a Sean William Scott, and I'm legitimately interested to see how this plays out. On NBC, The Good Place is back for its 3rd season, and I can't say much more than that because I really need to watch this show, so I'm avoiding the trailer to not be spoiled. And on CBS, Murphy Brown is back after an 11-year hiatus. Thank God, if ever there was a time for a revival, this is it. Over in books, if you need a Dishonored fix, Adam Christopher has you covered with Dishonored: The Veil Terror, a new book that follows Billy Lurk in the aftermath of the Dishonored 2 DLC. And in video games, hitting PC this week, we have The Conjuring House. Sure, it's yet another first-person horror game, but this one stands out in that it actually looks pretty creepy. Meanwhile, the anime version of World War II continues with Valkyria Chronicles 4. Manage your troops/waifus and send them into turn-based battle to save your formerly peaceful homeland. Speaking of war, Pathfinder Kingmaker brings the tabletop RPG to your PC for the opportunity to carve out a slice of the world and make a kingdom out of it. And of course, it's another week in another cool-looking Metroidvania game. This time it's Time Spinner, sporting nice art, huge bosses, and what seems to be a host of time manipulation powers. Going back to the turn-based side of things, Depth of Extinction is a futuristic tactics game that has you doing tactics game things in a futuristic setting. That sentence just kinda reversed back on itself, but the game still looks cool. And oh boy, talk about adding insult to injury. A week after the fall of Telltale, their biggest direct competitor comes out with Life is Strange 2, a new chapter in the choose-your-own-adventure-like franchise. Insomnia the Ark is also a story-based game, though I'm guessing there's a lot more shooting in it as well, as you start a revolution in a diesel punk action RPG. And back to turn-based tactics again, I'm Not a Monster is an interesting-looking party game that pits humans and aliens against each other Mafia-style in what is literally a tactical role-playing game. And for another space-based party game, Catastronauts is, well, it's multiplayer FTL. That's pretty much it. Multiplayer FTL. Over on the Switch, Arena of Valor launches this week, providing Nintendo fans with their own entry in the popular MOBA genre. It is still a popular genre, right? Heading for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch this week, following its PC release last month, is This Is the Police 2, for those that like to enjoy their police corruption from the comfort of their couch. And on the other side of the law, The Escapists kick off this week's selection of indie hits making their way to the Switch, followed by South Park: The Stick of Truth. Okay, not really an indie hit, and you'd think it would have come out when the sequel did, but I guess both games are on the Switch now. There we go, Alwa's Awakening was one of last year's PC Metroidvanias, now making its console debut. And another to add to the list, Rise and Shine, the hit shooter puzzler from 2016. But the biggest launch for the Switch this week has to be Dragon Ball FighterZ. They said it couldn't be done, but they did it anyway. All of the DBZ 2D fighting you can ask for on Nintendo's little system. Wrapping up this week's awesome video, GameChamp3000 asked if you can beat Sonic 3 and Knuckles without pressing right, and you would be surprised at the answer.
Plus, as a bonus challenge, we're gonna find out the minimum number of times you have to press left, meaning for most of the playthrough, you're completely locked out of horizontal input.
That's everything for this week, so what classic games do you want to see get new life? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I appreciate likes and appreciate subscribers even more. It's my birthday today, so make it a good one by sharing this video with a friend, and have a great week!